Welcome to Behind the Book. I'm your host, Bethany Clark.
And I'm your host, Fern Ronay.
And today we're here with our author, Jillian Conley, author of Dating Chase Walker. Welcome, Jillian.
Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
So what we usually like to do with our authors is to get you to sum up the book in one sentence. So how would you sum up Dating Chase Walker?
Okay, Dating Chase Walker is one girl's quest to find inspiration in her life and her writing. And she's an erotic romance novelist, so she finds a guy named Chase Walker who is a dating and sex expert, and he inspires her to kind of be more creative in what she's doing, and they end up going on a sexual love affair.
Okay.
And inspire her, he does.
So let's zoom in on that one word she said, erotic.
Yes.
This book is extremely graphic.
Yes.
It is, very much is. So how did you get the courage, shall we say, to write the graphic scenes in this book, because it's extremely explicit?
Okay, a couple years ago I wrote a book called Maid of Honor, and when I wrote it there were some sexual scenarios in it, but it really wasn't, you know, it was sugar-coated. It wasn't what I wanted to write, and I still wasn't comfortable. And then I actually met a person who was in the dating and sex industry, and I started working with him. I actually dated him for a while, and he helped me become more comfortable in my writing and exploring things more, and just really figuring out what it is I wanted to say.
So it's kind of like the book, right?
Yes.
And as I'm reading the book, I couldn't help but wonder, did her mom read this?
My mom did read it. She said she had to take a few breaks.
Right.
But, you know, she was unsure if she wanted to read it at first, and
Yeah.
I said, you know, whatever you want to do is fine by me.
Right.
And, you know.
And your family is, because Audrey, the protagonist, her family is very hippy-dippy, kind of free love. And what I think is interesting is your family's not like that, right?
No, I mean, yeah, they were born Catholic. I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic school. You know, my family is not free love that way.
Right.
You know, they're very settled in, you know, with the one you love and experience a life together.
Right, right.
So.
So I was wondering why you didn't make Audrey's parents Catholic, but then I realized it would have been too much conflict, and you would have had to resolve that conflict. It would take away from the sex.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Moral
Audrey.
dilemma of it all.
Yeah. Well, Audrey, she was already an erotic romance novelist before she meets Chase.
Right.
And so I needed to develop characters that were kind of a little bit of an inspiration into why she went that direction in her
Right.
life. And so that's why I chose that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of things going on in this book in terms of dating and going on with nightlife and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this is typical Chicago dating experience? Are you currently single?
I'm currently single, yes.
Okay, so you guys do crazy things in this, like go to the Trump, to, you know, off to Mexico, and all these trips.
In Vegas.
And Vegas, and
Yeah.
very, very fast life. Do you think this is typical Chicago dating experience?
Absolutely. I actually have had a lot of people come back to me and say, wow, like this, I feel like I'm with my best friend. You know, some of it is, you know, you got to have a lot of money to do a lot of those things. But, you know, I tried to make it in a way that people could really feel like they were there. They were doing these things, especially Chicagoans.
Right.
You know, I include a lot of places that
Landmarks.
are real.
Right, a lot of the names we recognize.
And I want to give Chicago recognition because it is so great. So.
Yeah. I dated in New York City. You know, I lived in Chicago with my husband. I dated in New York City, and I just think that it is, you know, for Chicago is a cosmopolitan city. It's a big city. You don't need a car. You can go out, get drunk, take a cab home.
Yeah.
So I think it was a typical, you know, it sounded like dating in New York.
Yeah. Well, actually, here's a little sneak peek in book 2. She is in New York for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Very
Sex
nice.
in the city.
Audrey has a new experience in there. So
Oh.
Chicago's the main place, but she does go and explores things in New York.
Nice.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so next up, we're going to talk about the mindset of Chase Walker. So join us after the break.
Welcome back, and Jillian hasn't run away. Jillian Conley, author of Dating Chase Walker. Now we're going to get into the mindset of this sex expert who Audrey was dating and who inspired her writing. So
This is our Dr. Phil moment.
this is our Dr.
Oh,
Phil
goodness.
moment. I don't want to get too deep because the book is so much fun, and you know, it's not, we don't want to get too psychological, but I felt he was a little abusive, like, I mean, obviously not physically and not like 50 Shades of Grey, but there were parts when he did things and then he would apologize profusely. And he shouldn't have done those unacceptable things to begin with, like Kelly. I don't want to give too much away, but the Kelly incident. So did you have any, were you afraid that you didn't want to go too far because you didn't want the readers to not understand why she still wanted to be with him?
Yeah, well, I think things happen in relationships, and this is really the point I was trying to get across is there's hiccups in relationships all the time, and it's a matter of really looking at it and working through it, and then figuring out a resolution and moving forward. You know, she was very much in love with him, so like she was very accepting because she's like, you know, I'm gonna go away, and then she's like, oh, I can't because, you know, I really love him, I want this to work. In which, you know, some people would say, why would she go back to him? I mean, I've had tons of people.
Friends. At least you had like
right.
the Greek chorus where her friends saying, you know, what are you doing?
Yeah. And that's actually the character Bree that was brought into it. She's kind of like the psychologist.
She was a psychologist.
Yeah.
Right?
So she pulls in a lot of that stuff to kind of guide Audrey through what she's doing. Because girls, they go back to guys, and you know, no matter what happens, sometimes they cheat on them, sometimes it's mentally or physical abuse, and you know, I wanted people to recognize that.
Right, and relationships do get over that. You know, I know people who've experienced infidelity; they're still together years later, and you know, every relationship is different. I think.
Yeah, and you know, with them having a sexual love affair, it actually is something that wouldn't be that bad because they were both very involved with sex, so like exploring it was an important part of it. Right. And so, you know, that wasn't a big deal to Audrey, but it was. So. Yeah.
So do you think that Chase had some kind of mental disorder? Because I'm just gonna say the crying Jags. There's some crying, or isn't necessarily normal behavior in terms of what prompted it. So do you think that there was anything like maybe actually he could have been diagnosed with something?
No. I think he's a man that is in touch with his emotions. I don't think, you know, I did go a little far with the crying just to kind of go from one side to the other.
To show the
because
extreme.
it does balance him out, because otherwise he'd be too macho, like one, you know.
Yeah, Chase, there really is no middle road.
Right, it's very extreme.
He bounces back and forth. And so I actually think that's the beauty of his character. Because, you know, if I just had a guy that I wrote about that was just, you know, going along, what fun is that? So, like, you know, going back and forth, as I learned, that's called pinging, you know, to lows to highs. And I thought that made a good character for him.
Right, definitely. He's very interesting. So is he based on anyone? Perhaps.
Actually, yes, he is inspired by my ex-boyfriend, who is a dating, sex, and social interactions expert.
What's his name?
His name is Spencer Burnett.
And Spencer Burnett happens to be here.
Yes, he does.
She brought him, yay! And we are going to speak to him next and ask him a ton of questions. Like, did he really break up with you in Mexico? We want to know.
So join us after the break. Welcome back to Behind the Book. We're still here with author Jillian Conley, and the book is still Dating Chase Walker,
and it's still sexy.
Yes. And we actually happen to have the real life inspiration of Chase Walker, but his name happens to be Spencer Burnett. Welcome, Spencer.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And okay, you are, let's be honest, you're Chase Walker, and you are a sex, dating, and
social interactions expert.
So what exactly does that mean? I mean, we know what he did in the book, kind of, but...
Yeah, I help guys identify what they want out of life, especially in their romantic relationships, and help them get it, whether it's meeting new girls or you know, being in a relationship and having that go well, or even leaving a relationship and making sure that ends well.
So you coach them?
Yeah, through all aspects of the relationship.
Including the sex aspect.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Especially the sex.
Well,
you're like Hitch, which was mentioned in the book, I think, right?
Yeah,
Yes, I remember correctly, and Bethany mentioned before, you're the white Hitch.
And shorter.
But cuter.
Oh, well, thank you.
And just his gorgeous hair.
His hair is great.
Thank you.
It is great.
It's a life force of its own. So how does it make you feel being the subject of this book?
You know, when I first read the book, like the first third of it was tough for me to read because I was like, wow, this is really graphic. But I started to embrace it more as I read it. So I certainly feel, you know, there's certainly a lot of information in there. So, but that's what's exciting.
Was there anything that you were like, take this out? I can't believe you put this in there.
There were things that I couldn't believe that she put in there. The pretty detailed, you know, elements of my life. And like I said, some of it is fiction. So it's, you know, it's open for the reader to decide what's true and what's not. So that's what I liked about it. So
Right.
I didn't want anything removed. The book is awesome. It really is.
So the scenes in the book are extremely graphic, right?
Yes.
You've read them? Okay.
Yes.
So we have to know, was the sex as frequent as it is in this book? Because it's literally like almost every other page.
Actually, the sex in the book is very accurate, and that's what I really liked about it. I couldn't believe the. I mean, I've read a bunch of Jillian's, you know, writings before, but it was really good. You know, I'm all about creating experiences and stuff like that through what I do.
What did you learn from him?
Oh God, all sorts of things.
Read the book, right?
I mean, wow.
Was it like deep life lessons in this deep life lessons?
Yeah, I actually did. You know, I really struggled with, I guess, getting really involved in relationships, and he taught me a lot of things on how to kind of love in different ways. And so, being with him was great for me. As I was, you know, growing older.
So you would
learning.
recommend him as an expert?
Oh, absolutely.
And where can people find your services?
On SpencerBurnett.com. That's my website, and I've got you know, a bunch of videos and, you know,
Oh my.
posts and stuff. And,
How-tos?
yeah, and,
Very
and,
nice.
and a program for guys that want to become more successful with their interactions with women. And so,
Nice.
yeah.
Fantastic. So SpencerBurnett.com.
Yeah.
And we will be back again with Jillian on her own for our James Lipton moment, questions or word association. Which will it be? Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Behind the Book. I'm still Bethany Clark. And we're still here with Jillian Conley. And so we have to ask you, what's next after dating Chase Walker for you?
Okay, well, this is actually a 3-book novella series, and so the second book should be out sometime in the fall. And I finally figured the title of it. It's called Loving Audrey Buchanan. And so it's kind of her, because she becomes very reliant on someone to give her inspiration in her life and writing. And after, you know, things that happen with Chase, she decides, like, I need to find it within myself. And so she goes on, you know, her little own quest, and she experiences crazy things. And
You
like,
mentioned earlier she goes to New York, right?
yeah,
So that
she
happens
goes
in
to
the
New
second
York.
book.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she kind of just really goes outside of her comfort zone. Not only sexually, the first book is going to be is much more graphic than the second book. So the second book, it's really about a woman finding herself, you know, not only sexually but with
Spiritually and emotionally.
Yeah, and she goes through all of that.
I'm surprised it's not it because I feel like that's your.
You know,
That's your niche.
it definitely
She's
will
definitely
be.
good at it.
She's good
I
at
would
it.
say it won't be as frequent, you know,
Okay.
because how many guys can you find that can go that often?
Right. There aren't many Chase Walkers.
There are not. There are not. He's truly one of a kind. So what we do next is we call it our James Lipton moment. Fern.
Uh-oh.
Pass the book.
So you look behind the book,
Okay.
plug, and then you pick one of the cards without looking.
Okay.
And then it decides whether it's word association or question.
We need a blindfold.
Yeah, we don't have a blindfold.
Okay.
We'll get there. So you open it and what?
She's our one guest who would be very comfortable with the
A
blindfold.
word association.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Oh no.
Okay, it's a good one.
No. So this is how it works. Basically, have you ever seen Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton?
No.
Oh.
So I'm in for a surprise here.
Okay, so what happens is we'll say a word and you say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Don't expand. Just
Yeah, just lightning
And
fast.
well, you know how I write, so they might be dirty.
That's,
I'm kidding.
that's
okay.
fine. This is not ABC, NBC. The FCC is not after her.
Any young children leave the room now.
Okay.
So I'll start. Ex-boyfriend.
Spencer Burnett.
Love.
Family.
Aw.
Chase Walker.
Broken heart.
Aw. You. 50 Shades of Grey.
A I'm trying to think, like, erratic, I guess I would say.
Dr. Ruth.
Inspirational.
Grey Goose.
Very good. Yeah.
First kiss.
Oh, Charlie?
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. Reality TV.
Exciting.
Mexico.
Warm?
Good. And we had, like, if you had chosen questions, we had a bunch of short questions we were going to ask you, but I think we can include one of the ones that we were going to.
Okay.
What's the best sex tip you've ever received?
Ooh. Well, this comes from Spencer Burnett. You know, I worked for his company for a couple of years, so I got to really learn, you know, what's behind really what he does, you know. And he has seminars that they're spending the night with Spencer Burnett, and he teaches women really just to become comfortable with themselves, but in it there's a mix of, like, you know, little techniques and stuff. And it's in the book, so this is an all-time favorite. It's called The Treatments. And I don't know if I could really give behind it, if he would be cool with that.
That aren't too explicit. You can describe the treatment.
Basically, the gist of it is, after sex, people roll over and go to sleep, right? And they don't really embrace what happens afterwards, because you're in a high afterwards. And so the treatment is really a process of really the guy or the girl taking control of extending the orgasm, extending the sexual experience.
Oh, yeah, I kind of remember
to really
that part.
settle into it and then make it even better than it was.
Right. Was this the part where it was getting closer and then they stopped, getting closer and they stopped? Or
No,
that's something else?
that was something
That's
else.
Confusing my techniques.
That's, yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
That is technique. No,
I know.
the treatment is mentioned in there. It's very brief.
Okay,
It doesn't
okay.
really go into what it is, but
Okay.
I think that every man should learn about the treatment. Every man. I mean, every woman too, but you know, from being a woman, that is one of Spencer Burnett's best creations.
Nice.
And there you have it, gentlemen. Every man.
Yes. Yes.
So you have to go to spencerburnett.com to learn that more in depth.
And where can
Absolutely.
people find out more about you?
They can go to JillianRayConley.com, or they can find me on Twitter at Jillian Conley, or they can look me up through my publisher. It's called My Three Sisters.
My3sisters.com.
Yeah, my3sisters.com,
Great.
the number 3.
And the book, again, is Dating Chase Walker by Jillian Connolly. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys for
This is
having
fun.
me. This
This
was
is very
fun.
fun.
Thank you to our home, away from home here, the beautiful Open Books. To find out more about our home, it is open-books.org. And we will be interviewing a children's book author next month.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Talk
the
about
book is,
180.
The book is No Clue, No Shoes by Martha Cook. So
Stay tuned for
stay
that.
tuned.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Fern Ronay.
And I'm Bethany Clark.